Welcome to The Explainer. Sometimes the only way to really get a story is to take it apart, almost like a mechanic with an engine. And today, we've got a seriously chilling one for you, a horror story set at 30,000 feet. We're going to break it down and see exactly what makes it so terrifying. So, right off the bat, the story hits you with two things. First, it's Halloween. Classic horror setting, right? Then, bam, a huge flight delay. That just throws everything off balance. So from the very first sentence, you just know this is not going to be your average, everyday flight. It's just a perfect recipe for unease. All right, so let's get into it. We're not just going to retell the story. Nope, we're going to break it down. We'll map the whole thing to that classic dramatic arc. You know the one, with the setup, the rising action, the climax, all that good stuff. It's the best way to see exactly how the author builds that tension, one creepy step at a time. So, here's the plan. We'll kick things off with that eerie Halloween setup, then get into the rising tension, the peak of terror, what happens in the aftermath, and finally, we'll look at that big unanswered question at the end. All right, Section 1, the setup. Every good horror story has to start somewhere, right? This is where the foundation is laid. It's all about setting the scene, introducing who's there, and crucially, making us feel that sense of isolation. And get this. There are only a handful of passengers. Think about that for a second. A plane is usually this crowded, noisy tube, right? But here, it's almost empty. The author does this on purpose, creating this ghostly, weirdly quiet space. It feels wrong, It flips our expectations on their head and takes away that safety in numbers feeling, leaving everyone on board feeling totally exposed. You know what's interesting? Our main character, he actually likes it. He picks a seat way off by himself, happy to have the solitude. But this is so clever, because it's a huge piece of foreshadowing. That comfort he feels in being alone, that's about to be completely, totally ripped away. Okay, so that brings us to part 2, the rising tension. This is where things start to get really interesting. We're going to see how the story just masterfully starts to pull apart that sense of comfort, cranking up the suspense little by little. And the way the fear builds is just brilliant. It doesn't happen all at once. First, it's just a strange request from a flight attendant. Kind of weird, but okay. Then, the whole plane goes quiet, like eerie quiet. And then, the gut punch. Our protagonist realizes there's a dead body on the plane. See how that works? It's not a sudden jump scare. It's a slow, deliberate climb, and it just drags you right up with it. And this quote, wow. The atmosphere around you instantly becoming heavy with sorrow. That just perfectly captures that sudden change, doesn't it? It's not just about seeing something scary. It's about the entire feeling in the room, or, the cabin, changing. You can almost feel the air getting thick. It puts you right there in that seat next to him. Okay, so things are getting intense. Our guy is understandably completely freaked out, and he does what any of us would probably do. He escapes to the restroom to just get a moment to himself. But of course, this is a horror story, so that escape, it leads us right into the climax. He's just trying to get a grip, right? He's looking for a little sanctuary, a locked door between him and, the corpse in the cabin. He thinks he's safe. But come on, we've all seen horror movies. When is a locked room ever truly safe? And then, thud. Just like that, any illusion of safety is gone, shattered. That one loud, violent sound turns his little safe space into a claustrophobic trap. Suddenly, there's nowhere to run. The threat is real, it's physical, and it is right on the other side of that flimsy little door. And this is what's so powerful. You have this massive, violent noise from the outside, and then nothing. Absolute silence. And in that quiet, what's the only thing you can hear? His own panic, his own ragged breathing. The horror isn't just outside anymore, it's moved inside him. It's the sound of his own terror. So we've hit the peak. Now we're in what's called the falling action. But here's the thing, there's no relief. Instead, the story makes this incredible pivot. The horror stops being about a physical threat and becomes something much more psychological. And this is where it gets truly weird. You've got this wild contrast. On one hand, our guy just experienced this terrifying, violent moment. On the other hand, the flight attendant is just calmly serving drinks, completely oblivious. That calm, that weird stare she gives him. Honestly, that's almost more unsettling than the bang on the door was. And this is the part that really gets under your skin. Because now you're right there with him, questioning everything. Did that even happen? If nobody else heard it, am I going crazy? The horror is no longer about something outside. The real terror becomes the idea that you can't trust your own mind. Is the scary thing on the plane, or is it inside his head? And that brings us to the end, the resolution. Except there really isn't one. And that's classic horror, isn't it? It doesn't give you a nice, tidy answer. It just leaves you hanging with this awful, lingering feeling. So he tries to explain it away. Hey, it was Halloween. It was probably just a prank. He's searching, grasping for any logical reason because the other possibilities are just too scary. But you can tell, even he doesn't really buy it. But then we get this final quote, and it is just a masterstroke. He tells people he has a creepy story, but he admits he can't share the entire truth. Whoa. That one little detail tells you everything. It tells you that whatever really happened was way too real, way too terrifying to just be a prank. And that's the question that just sticks with you, isn't it? What was the part he couldn't share? What was the entire truth? In the end, you're left wondering what the real horror is. A Halloween prank? Something supernatural? Or maybe it's that horrible, isolating feeling of knowing you're the only one who saw what really happened.